My name is Donna Lynch, and I'm with the Resource Center for Family Focused Practice. And we are so excited you're joining us on this Friday afternoon after lunch at 1 o'clock. Thank you for coming. We are excited to have the incomparable Jay Vermillion with us here today to present some amazing information around wraparound roles and functions specifically, and speaking to our California high fidelity wraparound standards. I'm super excited. It is 1:01. We're going to get started here in just a minute. We're going to let everybody get in from the waiting room, get their technology set up, have their faces up on camera, grab a snack, something to drink, and so we can settle in for the next 2 hours together. If you're just joining us now, again, my name is Donna Lynch, and I am here with the Resource Center for Family Focused Practice to present you our webinar today on wraparound roles and functions with Jay Vermillion. This webinar is being recorded. So please, if anybody from your county or organization was unable to attend, don't you fret. We will absolutely post this on our website coming up in the next few weeks and have all of the resources available to you as well. We would love for you to introduce yourself in the chat. Please let us know who you are, where you're at, what your role is, and we would love to say hi. See some familiar faces in the house, makes me excited. Jay's got his thumb up, ready to roll. We are so glad you're here today with us. All right. With that, I would like to welcome everyone again. We are so glad that you're here to join us today for this important discussion on the roles within California's high fidelity wraparound model. I would like to highlight some housekeeping. This webinar, like I just said, is being recorded. It will be posted on our website in the next few weeks, so please look out for that. We will send out a marketing email to inform you in the community when it will be available. Along with the recording, all of the documents and resources that we will be dropping in the chat today, and there will be quite a few, those will be posted along with the recording in a PDF version for all to have access to. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that policies and procedures can vary across counties and provider agencies. While today's session will provide a broad overview of wraparound roles as outlined in the draft California wraparound standards, we encourage you to refer to your local leadership for any specific questions related in your area specifically. All right. This webinar is being presented in collaboration with the California Department of Social Services and the Resource Center for Family Focused Practice. We are excited to bring you this webinar as a part of our ongoing efforts to support the implementation of high fidelity wraparound across the state of California. We are honored to have Jay Vermillion with us today. Jay is a wraparound champion, not only here in our state, but across the country with over 2 decades of experience, bringing his deep knowledge, practical insights, and real-world expertise to this conversation. Look for his new book coming out soon. And today he'll be diving into the critical roles required in California's high fidelity wraparound model as outlined in the draft California wraparound standards. The responsibilities of each team member and how they work together to deliver high quality, individualized, and team-based planning for families and youth. We appreciate your time and commitment for this important work. At this time, I am very excited to welcome Janine LeSueur from the California Department of Social Services, the Family Center Practice Unit, to join Jay to share some important updates about the Wraparound Toolkit and the draft Wraparound Standards, as well as how you can access these valuable resources. Janine, thank you for joining us today.
Welcome. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here and share some key updates on the Wraparound Toolkit and the draft California Wraparound Standards. Both of these resources will help support your work, the work that you're doing every day. So now, though, accessing these resources are going to be easier. Our Wraparound website has been updated, yay! And now you can find everything you need, including the toolkit, the draft standards. There's a button for technical assistance support and all of our wraparound resources all in one place. So let's start with the wraparound toolkit. Jay is going to show us what it looks like. And this is just a very quick, I know a lot of you have seen it before, but we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to know where these valuable resources are. So what the toolkit is it's a collection of guidance, tools, and best practices that are designed to enhance wraparound implementation across California. Whether you're looking for information on key wraparound roles or strategies for engagement or practical tools to support the work that you're doing, the toolkit is there to help. Additionally, we want to highlight that the draft California wraparound standards. The standards outline the roles and responsibilities within high fidelity wraparound to help ensure consistency and clarity in how wraparound is practiced statewide. However, I want to emphasize that these standards are still in draft form and are currently under review. So we encourage you to visit the site and explore the materials and reach out if you have any questions or need additional guidance. Donna is dropping the resource document with all of the links now in the chat. And thank you again for the opportunity to share this with you. And I'm going to hand it back to Jay, who will take us through the wraparound roles.
Welcome. We're glad to have you. Thank you, Janine. Thank you, Donna, James, Tamara, Davis, CDSS, and California for this great opportunity. We're here to talk about where you fit into wraparound. And we're going to talk from a very high level to a very low level, but we're really going to identify what the standards say. And then we're going to ask you to chew on that a little bit. So essentially, you should be leaving here with one, understanding some essential functions and roles throughout high fidelity wraparound in the state of California. Understand also some of the expectations and responsibilities of those roles and functions. Also, by the end, we hope you have a few strategies in your toolbox on how to respond to some particular situations that come up in the wraparound world. Before we jump off, how are y'all feeling? We got 116 people. Hey! I should be more dressed up. Where's my tie? I feel better now. Okay. Actually, this would make me, I should need a microphone. Can you hear me? Sound check. Okay. All right. Looks like, can we see reactions buttons in the crowd? How you feeling? What's going on? If you would, for 30 seconds, share how you feeling. I want to see some, you have reactions buttons, chats, emojis. Let us know. There's a few hearts, some thumbs ups. Okay, then let the anticipation build. Do. Hey, I see some friends. Nice to see you. Wow, it feels cool. Okay, so with no further ado, back to the screen share. Let's dive in. So here we go. We're going to be talking and taking this deeper. As we described already, we have these landing pages for the standards, for the toolkit, for staffing wraparound, for the California wraparound standards. Why does this matter? Well, because what you give, the way you concretize this practice, it really matters, right? So family voice and choice, for example, you meet a family once a year and listen to them for 30 minutes, that's not family voice and choice. So the standards identify what that looks like. So these are kind of, I would bookmark, favorite, print, grab them, right? So you're ready to go. We're going to take some time to dig into these specific functions, which you can define who's going to cover the functions, right? There are specific roles to a wraparound team, but who does those and how it's done depends on the characteristics, their training, your community, what you got. It's about making it work. So we'll talk about various roles, beginning with, most importantly, the youth and the family's role in wraparound. We'll talk about how they inform the team, how they move and shift from power differential. Then we're going to talk about second most important, check this out. It's community supports, right? It's those doctors. Oh, I have a doctor prompt. Yep. It's the doctors, the nurses, the community, the retired community, the philanthropy. What's in the community? Oh, we live in nowhere. Yeah, right. There's community there. So we're gonna talk lastly about those functions and roles and the staff responsibilities. It's important to know that each role plays a particular function within in the wraparound cog, right? Meaning that wraparound is designed to be one integrated system of care approach to healing. One group, one team with different strengths, some formal, some informal. And we'll define how you use those leads to fidelity and great practice, right? So we use people in the community for their strengths. We're not just you get a job, but oh, you're good at that and you're good at that. So we're going to talk about how this should be hopefully a seamless transition for a lot of communities at using strengths that may already exist and or creating some that will support your wraparound implementation. So let's begin with a little bit of shout out in the chat box here. And I hope y'all can make it rain, right? Well, I want to see buttons pushed, right? Who's going to be first? So I want to know, kind of group discussion in the chat. What makes an effective team? You know, what are the elements that contribute to a team's success? On your marks, get set, go. Light it up, make it rain. Make it go so fast nobody can read it, so we got to print it and send it later. I don't want them getting distracted. What do we got in there, Donna? You weren't ready. It's okay.
Mute. Collaboration, communication, relationship, transparency, common purpose,
Ooh,
participation, the
ooh,
team respect,
ooh.
common goals, different perspectives, absolutely, listening, dedication, partnership, humor, absolutely,
Wonderful.
focus,
Wonderful.
flexibility.
Thank you, Donna. We're gonna let that keep raining. And thanks for being my Vanna. So it's really important that we see all this and pay attention, right? Like we know what the wrong is. Hashtag I'm a Chargers fan, so go Chargers. Hopefully we can get all this right this year and make it happen. We know that if you put a group of people together, that does not mean that they are a team. Say it again. So how do you build a team? How do you bring together? How do you be effective with one another? And last I wanted you to think about is like, how do we do it together, right? In a system, in a community. Okay, next question. Keep the chat box ready. Let's see who's quick on the draw. What gets in the way of effective teaming? What are the barriers that break down teams?
Judgment,
Hashtag the
egos,
opposite. Sorry, go ahead, Donna. I talked over you.
judgment, egos, burnout, lack of communication, secrets, pride, system mandates, hubris, lack of self-care, not knowing roles, assumptions, trust, communication, wanting to create conflict. Is it our plan or their plan?
Holy cow, you guys are good. Come on, California, represent. There's a lot of barriers. There's those that come from within and those come from without. From within the family and their barriers and their experiences and their lack of connection and other things like people's opinions and biases. And then there's those without, all of us, right? Including location and all of that. So it's really about trying to figure out how are we going to get this job done using the right pieces of our community. So it sounds like we know what breaks the team down for sure. Okay, so quick reminder in case you didn't know them already, we've got the 10 wraparound principles. Can you shout, anybody name them in the chat box? Come on, show me, California. There's 10 wraparound principles. I'm not going to say them. There they go. Donna, I'll get back to you. I'll throw it to you in a minute. We've also got the thinking about the basic components of wraparound phases, or as I like to call them, operations. Don't get mad at me, work team, but it's like we're 4 operations at the same time because somebody's got to pay attention to the heartbeat while somebody's got to make sure the parents are all right, while somebody's got to measure the blood pressure, somebody's got to be ready with the suture. You follow me? I'm using that as an analogy, not literally. Don't be going to do that, please. It was a prop only, medical. Anyways, so then we have these are the components. Number 1, they have a team that they can call on that they believe will be there for them, right? A team. They also have developed a plan together as a team. That means you included those people of the community that they will call at 2 in the morning because they're probably not calling us. They're calling their people first, hopefully, because they have them. And if not, we're going to build them. Number 3, you have a team that meets regularly. This means that you got to be a part of the team. Now, let me tell you what, sometimes I'm a busy guy, right? But I can send a 15-minute text message, right? I can check in, I can send a video. There's different ways people can be a part of the teaming process by proxy. That's why we have a wraparound facilitator. We'll talk about that in a minute. Then the last part of wraparound fidelity is decisions are driven by the youth and the family, biological family, heritage, community, kinfolk, not excluding those foster and adoptions, but emphasis on where the root of the cause and the trauma could be. So these are the basics of wraparound fidelity: phases, engagement, planning, implementation, and transition, written in very team-based language. So I'm going to keep going. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a spirit fingers. I'm seeing some folks. Okay. So according to the Wraparound Research Evaluation Team, hashtag Eric Bruns and Janet Walker and all of our founders and mothers, right? They say when you do this, it matters, right? It means you can't just kind of wing it. So they say, what is fidelity when it comes to caregivers? I want to point out team members' functions. Here they come. Everyone is responsible for ensuring that my family and I had a major role in choosing the people on my wraparound team. Yep, we're going to call them and ask them, did you choose the people on your team or did somebody else? Right? Number 2, at the beginning of the wraparound process, my family described our vision of a better future for our team. And if questions or comments, drop them. We're keeping them track of them. Reminder, at the beginning of the wraparound process, way in the beginning, my family described our vision of life in the future without formal systems. Number 3, at each team meeting, we're getting together, remember? The wraparound team celebrates at least one success and positive event. So it doesn't matter if you're the therapist, the clinical supervisor, or the therapist, or the acupuncturist, or the public health nurse, or the parent partner, or the youth partner. You're all responsible for at least celebrating one success and one positive event. Another one, my wraparound team came up with ideas and strategies that were tied to things that my family likes to do, right? Meaning that it wasn't just us operating in the shop, it was with the community. The next one, I feel like members of my wraparound team do understand me and my family. That's everyone's job. Every function, every role, according to the ICPM. Check it out if you haven't. Integrated core practice model. So one more quick run through of fidelity, and we're just setting up the training. We're about to start in just a sec. Being involved in wraparound has increased the support of my child and family to getting support from friends and family. Being involved in wraparound meant that I had more friends and family, taking on action items, being a part of my meetings, advocating for me, contributing to my vision. The next one, the wraparound process has helped me, my child, and family build strong relationships with people we can count on. Catching the trend? Our wraparound team does include friends, neighbors, or extended family members. No matter where I go, these people are a part of it in one way or another. Our wraparound team includes people who are not paid to be there. Example, friends, family, faith. Alumni, that's the new language we're going to put. Alumni, past youth and families that are a part of our parent and youth advisory councils. And lastly, our wraparound plan includes strengths that do not involve professional services, things our family can do ourselves or with help from friends, family, and community. Are you catching my drift here? What are we talking about? How important it is that y'all aren't the only people doing this work in your roles, although we're about to talk about them. So here they come. Here's the key roles. Donna, should I check in on anything? Okay, here's the key roles in wraparound. Number 1, as we described, the family and natural supports. Bucket number 1. You should have a bucket in your office that says and fill that thing up full of papers. Every time we had to have new natural support, and when we fill that whole bucket full up of all natural supports, whole agency, we have a party. That's how we're about that life. The kids call it SOB. It doesn't mean what it used to be. It means standing on business. Okay, let's get that twisted. Okay, the next is the youth. The youth is pivotal. The youth shifts from the client to the captain, right? Chief Life Officer. Then we've got the community team. This includes kin, family, ICWA, CASA. I'm dropping some names, and we'll put it in the chat box. Get my back here. Regional center, social worker, right? Based on context or any identified information. And we're thinking about the whole life plan, right? We're thinking about when you were little, even though you're 16. Who are your people? Who are your friends? What animals? Community, grandmas, right? I get 7 whoopings before I got home from school, and I didn't even know how. Grandma had all kinds of friends. Come on, Janine. It was just a joke. It was just a joke. Okay. But those community members offer diverse perspectives, protect families, and bring unique interventions to the table. So, okay, I'm closing that chapter. We're now here to talk about y'all. We have first the wraparound facilitator, sometimes called a care coordinator, sometimes called something else. I will define what we mean when we're talking about a facilitator in California wraparound. We're talking about someone who's responsible for, number one, guiding the process, so being responsible for the fidelity. Do we have the right people at the meeting? Are we working together? Is the youth's voice being celebrated and seen? This facilitator guides the process in service to the process, to the team. They ensure collaboration with the idea of integration. So collaboration is we're kind of working together. We have different plans, right? But we're still trying to work together and seed it. Integration is one plan, right? We have created a hybrid. We are together, youth and families, formal systems, and community. Also requires facilitators have to have characteristics like effective communication, organization, right? Facilitators are responsible for building and organizing and facilitating a team through the wraparound process. Not just during the meeting, but outside of the meeting, right? There needs to be one central place for connection. Now, you may have you may be a broker of maybe mental health services or physical services. Your facilitator would be the person to help guide that input and help you turn those on behalf of the child and family team. And lastly, I said they are in service to the process, to the family. Then we have the family partner, or often called a parent partner. This is a person, notice they're lined up right next to each other. They're tag team, they're besties, they work together. In communities other than California, it's just a facilitator. Could you imagine? No family partner, youth partner, clinical supervisor, rep. Oh man. Family partner, family partner, parent partner is really, first I'll say, is an impacted individual. This means that they've been impacted by one or multiple systems. Child welfare, mental health, probation. They were, whether they chose or not, a consumer of services. They have a lived experience or lived expertise that is in service to the family and the team, especially around ownership of the family's voice to the team, right? Advocacy. They support the family. They are not a parent coach or a parent teacher. They are a person that comes with a particular set of subject matter expertise that increases our engagement, increases our community connection, and anybody I know would say the magic sauce. So we're going to talk more about these. I'm just introducing them to you now. Then we've got the youth partner, which is the younger version of the family parent partner, unfortunately, because they're the children of, right, that were removed or were involved in probation, were impacted by one or multiple systems, mental health, right? So this is an impacted young person, and don't ask me, y'all, what that means. A youth partner, sometimes called a youth advocate, sometimes, right, in some communities, and they are there just like the family partner, but in service more to the youth. Amplify voice, build a bridge between the youth and whatever they want, because they were there once, maybe in some way, shape, or fashion. They have a set of skills that'll help them support. And also they hold systems accountable to what the family's voice and choice wants. So we've now mentioned, and I'm going to give you the handouts here in just a second for these, or if they haven't already dropped them. We've also got, thank you, the wraparound implementation coach. So the wraparound implementation coach is responsible for supporting the wraparound process to seek fidelity, aim for fidelity. This is a person that does not sit in an office and look at reports. This is a person that goes out and does regular observations and joins teams in support. They run instruments to ensure that we are doing practices necessary. They do apprentice work with new staff. And they also support the wraparound implementation as a whole as it relates to increasing outcomes and fidelity. They are in service to the wraparound team, to the wraparound implementation as a whole. These folks are often your wraparound long timers. They usually carry a smaller family load. So because they take on either new apprentices and or when maybe somebody transitions, they can do some coaching with a new apprentice to make things work. So we'll talk about that. So the wraparound implementation coach is in service to the youth partner, the family partner, the facilitator, everyone, the whole implementation, and especially the youth and family. So on the toolkit, real quick, if you go down here to staffing wraparound, you'll see that there is a link for job descriptions. Let me just scroll down. And so they outline each one of them. So for like the clinical supervisor, facilitator, we've only talked about a few so far. There's a few more we're going to talk about, but I want to orient you to this so that while you're getting bored of me talking, you can go look at that. So let's go back over here into the presentation. So that's what we call kind of like the core service team. Like they're regularly meeting with families, supporting families, helping launch the informal wraparound process. They're building the building blocks in the beginning. We'll talk about how. Then we have what I would kind of consider some additional support teams that are regularly and intermittently a part of a child and family team wraparound team processes. Number one, family specialist. This is usually someone who is in support for like behavior modification or support to the youth and family to enhance connections or develop skills to be able to even maybe participate in a team meeting. Right? Maybe you can't even. So there, we sometimes there's referred to as behavior techs or behavior health specialists. And we'll talk about some of the names, but the idea here is that they have a particular set of clinical training or like skills training, behavior mod, ABA, anesthesia and behavior. Anyway, they have a set of skills. They may not have the lived experience and been impacted. So now we might, and this is a question that comes up often when people are running wraparound. They'll say, what's the difference between a youth partner, family specialist? Family specialist has behavior training, right? They're there to support the team when two kids are about to punch each other, or that never happens. Anyway, so they do that kind of support. So they can be regularly and intermittently a part of the team as necessary, right? Like when is needed, right? Same as all the functions. You turn them up, you turn them down, depending on the family's needs. But regular part of team planning, regularly. So then we've got the WRAP supervisor. WRAP supervisor is not just about time cards, although those things are important and supporting your staff's development. They're also about paying attention and guiding wraparound. Making sure we have the right people, making sure people are their development and their learning curve is going. And they're also there to provide that support when maybe a team gets stuck. So they should have some mastery of wraparound because they're ultimately in service to the family team and their family team, right, in their program. And so wraparound supervisors support the implementation. Sometimes it's an individual role. Sometimes it's like maybe someone who has a smaller family load and is also responsible for the supervision of wraparound. Lastly, and if I'm going too fast, give me a thumbs down. We've got the clinical supervisor, and the clinical supervisor is usually a licensed clinician that supports the wraparound team, including the professional staff, the youth, the behavior specialist, the family partner, all focusing on things that might get in the way as it relates to clinical oversight, including sometimes administrative support. They provide guidance. Sometimes they're responsible for signing off clinical treatment plans, right, that are being implemented by team members and different associates. And they're ultimately in service to the team. All of these people I just said, the family should know who they are, like meaning at least met them once on a phone call, in person. They show up sometimes. Never should they be just hang out in an office and then making a phone call because they're never going to answer your questions. Anyway, so we've now outlined the roles according to California Wraparound Fidelity. We're now going to go into a little bit more detail. Did I get any thumbs down so far, Donnie? I didn't see any if they happened. Okay, so facilitator, real quick. Here's some things for you to assess yourself on. Like, these are some of the things that we do. Remember I said in service of the process. There is a tool, and we'll drop it for you in the chat box right now. I'm going to drop the tool first, then I'll come back to the slide. So this is called the Wraparound Process User's Guide. It's going to be in your handouts. We used to call this the pink booklet back in the day. And essentially, this is a guide for families, but facilitators, this is a great place to start. This is what families are expecting of you. So it outlines things like different roles, what is WRAP basics, the 10 principles, common terms in wraparound, the 4 phases that you're responsible for helping facilitate, frequently asked questions, hey, check that out, and where do I get more information? We're not spending more time there because we got a lot. But you can check that out on your own. Let me go back over here. Here is a quick assessment for yourself if you're walking away from this class. Like, what can I do tonight? Number 1, facilitators engage and assess. Gather information. I'm not going to read through all these. This is for you when you're going to go back and have some takeaway. Some more. Ensure safety. Are the right people at the table to create a safe environment, to create a stabilization plan? We build teams. We manage meetings. Very most important, we track, document, support the strengths-based, needs-driven, family-driven process. So here's some common terms that are used throughout the state related to that facilitator. And there's a tool for you, 2 of them, the handout and the screenshot. Let's go now to the family partner. So you're new or you've been around and you want some tools. Here's the family partner's guide to implementing the 10 principles of wraparound. And it outlines, and I'll just give you a quick sample, each principle and how the family partner role can implement practice of that. Now, this is not the absolute only way, but this is a good guide for those of you that want to get in there. Again, can't spend a lot of time there. Check it out. Here's your checklist, parent, family partners. Here's some things we do. Facilitate family connections and long-term supports. Uphold the wraparound principles just like the facilitator. Address fidelity concerns. There ain't been no natural supports, and you guys say they can't come. Sorry, should I go? These are all different examples. They help guide families through wraparound. They're a co-facilitator, right? Because we're all responsible for that co-facilitation. If somebody's not being strength-based, it's all of our job. They also support parents through individualized, unique support. Only their medicine can because they're impacted experience. They're often called parent partner impacted, parent leader, parent knowledge curator, or adult impacted peer. Next, we've got the youth partner on deck. Let's knock it out the field. We've got, there's a great tool here for the youth partner. This is called A Youth's Guide to Wraparound, written by the great Pat Miles and Dr. Mark Chinvin, who I worked with in San Diego a long time ago. And this is a guide for youth to wrap around. It's called What? And it has a prep for things that a youth partner can be doing with a youth to prep them for their meeting, no matter the age. A young youth partner, middle age, older youth partner, they all can connect with the youth and help bring the youth into the planning process. So here's a brief guide. I don't have a lot of time to cover it, but I'm giving you a high level, explaining to who's on the wraparound team. What I love down here at the bottom is it's got like people I want on my team. Youth partners help recruit. Help drafting a crisis plan. When do I want to have my meeting? Then down at the very bottom, it's got example plans in youth-driven language. Check that out. All right, youth partners. I know there's a few in the building. Sometimes called family specialists. Sometimes you might have someone who is a youth partner and a family specialist. Why? Because they've got the clinical training and they've got the lived experience. Woo! Okay, so functions. Family specialist. This is the clinically trained, right? Behaviorally trained. And here, we don't have a tool for them. Sorry, I don't have a shout out. You are clinically trained. You know what to do. This is the point. So you're there to support, right? We're thinking about behavior. We're thinking about celebrating strengths, supporting the caregiver or parent at helping that family. And there is, remember, a document we gave you earlier that defines your functions that you can reference, but there's not a cool handout. Then there's a wrap coach. Here's your handout. There's the implementation guide for training, coaching, and supervising wraparound facilitators. This is a guide. I'll just zoom down a little bit. I pay attention to this. You got a new staff? You got phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Here it is. This is what you can do to help support wraparound fidelity. Going fast, but I want to get to the fun stuff. Wraparound supervisor. Here's the holy grail. There's a wraparound implementation guide. I think it's 112 pages. Check that out. It talks about everything from community readiness as a wraparound supervisor and coach to fidelity monitoring, etc. Okay, I'm ready to have some fun. We've got the clinical supervisor. Here's your assessment. Provide clinical supervision to everyone. Maintain a focus if there may be barriers. Ensure that assessment and treatment is being observed in an integrated fashion. Provide psychoeducation to anybody on the team, including the staff. So let's get into this. Let's have a little fun. I've done a quick introduction. I've talked about all the roles. We're now going to do a little bit of practice. So there we are. Here we are, everyone in the living room at a family's home. Okay, and I want you to respond from your role what you think we should do. We're not going to be able to see them all right and wrong, but I want to see what our response is. So Donna, get ready. So first, we want to think about, here's our first issue. The sibling of a youth is discussing their Indian heritage and describes being disappointed at a team member's support. Let's start with like a parent partner. What would they do? Drop it in the chat box. Any ideas? Come on now.
Come on, chat.
Come on. Oh, you said it.
Come
Yeah.
on, chat.
Hang on. Let me get the microphone out. Turn it up a little louder. Maybe they can't hear me. In the chat box, what would a parent partner do? Thinking about this. Yeah. Connect to them. Say, hey, yeah. You want to tell me more about that? No problem. On apologies in the chat. What else? Contact your local tribal representative. Yeah, come on now. Somebody
Go,
type that one in the
Tiffany.
chat box, right? Or ask them more. See if they have family members that are connected to their tribe or Indian heritage, right? Let's celebrate that. Great job, parent partner. Okay, what would the youth partner do? What would the youth partner do? Mike's yours. Put it in the chat box. Come on now. Oh, they need to put the button. Yeah, find local resources. Similar to the parent, but the youth. Validate, ask more information, connect. Most important, connect. It's the law. Not to mention, it's ethically responsible if you're a human being, right? You're part of this humanity. Wonderful. Okay, let's keep going. We have the parent partner. We got the youth partner. Let's see who's next. What about the facilitator? You're up. What are you going to do in the chat box, facilitator? Somebody might say, Yeah, recognize needs and support, coordinate connections and resources, delegate agenda. Oh, here it comes. Listen, maybe most important, right? Here. Identify this as an actionable need or need. Yes, wonderful. Okay, what about our family specialist? What about the family specialist thinking about that behavior training and clinical knowledge they should be aware of? What might they do? No wrong answers here. We're not policing the chat box, FYI. Ask what it would help and connect to immediate resources. Identify family members that can help. Wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna go to the next scenario. We're gonna see what happens with these other roles in the next scenario, although we're all responsible for the response to connect with local, right? Indian children with their communities, including check out the Office of Tribal Affairs, right? So really important. Here's your next scenario. And we're going to go backwards this time, so ignore the prompt. We're going to start with the clinical supervisor on this one. The youth is missing. The family is unable to be reached. The youth called you in need of support. You don't even know how they got your number. So the youth is missing. The family is unable, they can't reach their family, and they called you. What do you do, clinical supervisor? Let me catch up on the chat box.
Are you seeing those,
Ask
Jerry?
how I can help.
Yeah, there you go.
See, how can we help with safety? All right. Check in. Call your team. Hey, Donnie, this was me. Donnie, where you at? You having dinner? I know you are.
I'm right
Guess what?
here. I'm right here.
We got a youth, we're working. I call my parent partner. Hey,
Yes.
call the parent. What's going on? Call my facilitator. Facilitator, what's going on? Right? How can I help you? How can I be in service? Maybe even just support the youth. Like, what do you need right now, kiddo? Are you safe? Right? All the hotline and that's all important stuff, right? But like a first relational, right? Like we can be a part of the pathways to prevention, right? So okay, what about let's go to our wrapper or our I want to go our wraparound coach. Wraparound coach, what could you do? No wrong answers necessarily. We won't police them in the chat box. What do you got here? Wraparound coach. The youth is missing. Family is unable to be reached. The youth has called you for support. I don't know where they got your number. Yeah, assess immediate needs. Support the family. See what they need for safety. Also ask them, where are you at? You want to get coffee? Engage. We're all responsible. Wonderful. Let's do one more. Donna, time check.
1:43. We're doing great.
Okay. Awesome. Let's go to another one. I'm going to slow it down a little bit if we're doing great. Hang on. Boop, boop. I have too many animations. Sorry. Next, we've moved out of the engagement phase. So we've talked about a few things you can do. We're now going to move into planning. We were all responsible for engaging the family through whatever lens we bring to the table, whether it's impacted live experience, facilitation and teaming, impacted parent partner, wraparound coach, clinical supervision, program supervisor, right? Family specialist. So here we are. The bio parent is voicing their concerns and is being dismissed by professional team members outside of the wraparound staff. So this is maybe a community professional team member that is at the meeting. And so I want to start with maybe the wraparound facilitator. What could a wraparound? Remember, they're guiding the process and service to the team, the principles, the phases. What could we do here? Yeah, pause. Wait. We gotta listen. Wait. Yeah, come on. Ask the parents what they want, what they need. Right out the gate. Connect to them. Maybe that professional is kind of having a bad day. What do they need to feel heard right now? Okay, I know, right? How you doing, little Jared? I see you showing today. Transparency, right? What do you need? Can I get you a cup of coffee? Meet their need. We love them too. We're in service to the team, facilitator. Right? This is great. Let's go to the parent partner. I see some parent partners already kind of maybe shouting in the chat box. What do you got? Parent partner. Bio parents voicing their concern, being dismissed by a professional. What you gonna do? What would I tell you to do back in the day, Donna? Go get $20. Go get coffee.
Go get
Go get
coffee.
coffee.
Listen, what's happening?
Meet with them. Meet with the parent, but also meet with the professional. Understand you're a bridge, right? They have impact. It's a bridge. Help them build the bridge. There you are, Sal. There it is. Wonderful. Okay, I think we've got one more test here, and I think we might. I'll let you guys kind of play around with it. Youth is shutting down in the meeting. We're now in implementation, right? So we've got a plan. We're kind of working that plan together with our unique roles. We aren't the only people on the team, but we're responsible for a function. Youth is shutting down in the meeting, is starting to become agitated, is becoming behaviorally aggressive. I have a new question for you. Who do you think might respond first? No wrong answers. I'm just curious what you would say based on what you've learned so far. Oh, yeah. Oh, this is yeah. It depends on their relationship with the kid. How about that? Who's ever got the best relationship with a kid? Right? Because maybe the youth partner is more of an advisor, but the therapist has been with them for like 8 years. Yeah, might be the person using their skills to bring to the team. That was very well. That's wonderful. It might be the parent partner. It might be the facilitator. It might be the clinical support. I'm trying to point out that we all play a role. You know, I think about some of my toughest days as a former system involved youth. And, you know, just getting to school was tough on those days, right? Let alone staying out of trouble on those days. And things like who made your favorite muffin in the morning? Who played your favorite song when you got up, or, you know, gave you that hug? It's really about who all's going to build it, because we know that formally we're not going to be able to get it done. It takes all of us. So now we're in transition. This is the last one. 2 professional team members from different systems are having differences of opinion and arguing during the meeting. Who should respond? Who might respond first, I say, not should. Who might respond first? Let me grab the chat. There it goes. Facilitator. Yeah. I like that option. There's something that's not up there that I'd love to see in the chat box. It's not on the screen. This was a bonus question. Who else might respond? Come on, this is a level 200 question. Hey, Donnie. There you go, right? Maybe even, hey, guys, I know you're here, but this is my meeting. And I've been empowered to say voice matters by the facilitator. And anyway, yeah, hey, that's great. Not picking on anybody, but we've all been there, y'all, including myself, today and again. So I hope this is kind of bringing together, and we could talk about other people's response. But we're really starting to bring together this scenario where we're all acting almost kind of independently with our own functions, or maybe you carry multiple functions, but we're working together using them. And I think it's also important to note that you can't do it alone. You can't be one person that does all of them. You can't be a facilitator that's also a parent partner, it's also a youth partner, also a clinician. You can't do them all, but you could be a person who meets multiple functions and roles, right? Meaning that you have maybe training and lived experience or coaching that puts you in a place that you can use those. So I want to just pause for a quick check-in. I know we're starting. If you have any questions, now would be the time to shout them out in the chat box. We've got our last scenario here, and I know I said the last one was the last one, but this is it. The youth is in crisis and threatening self-harm, and doesn't know what to do, and expresses themselves during a team meeting. Think about it. You don't have to put it in the chat box. How would you individually respond in your role? What would you do? Don't put it in the chat box. But do you feel like you know what you would do? A youth partner might check in, might say, hey, can we connect with your clinician? Might say, connect them to an emergency crisis line, right? Maybe a parent partner connects with the youth also and helps the parent cook their favorite meal, right? We're really thinking about how we can team this together. Because what we know is when we all share our little contributions, sometimes we get the recipe right. And it might be grandma's brownies that get him to go to therapy for a week, right? So thinking about a clinical supervisor might come to a team meeting and do some clinical stuff, right? Or the clinical, right? Not just for the youth and family, or maybe we've gone through some tough stuff and we all need a place to heal and feel connected. So I'm hoping that you're starting to see kind of where you fit at in this big old puzzle. And now I'm going to hit you with the most complicated part. We're moving into what I call kind of like the wraparound labyrinth, right? Meaning that although there are clear functions, there are steps in the process, that it's really about teaming together in those moments and utilizing what you're there for. I remember there were times when I'd say, right, like when I was a youth partner, hey, I'm reminding them, I'm the youth partner. I'm here to ensure that the youth voice is heard. I'm not doing this to make you guys angry, right? I'm not doing this to say the system is doing a bad job. I'm here to support that youth. So I'm going to put you guys in this labyrinth. It's a pretend labyrinth. Just pretend. It's not really happening. I want us to think about solving these kind of real world problems together. I'm going to invite people to talk at this point. If you want to, you can chat box it, but I'm going to invite people in to share voice if they want. So beginning with the entry point, this is engagement. So you're starting the engagement process of wraparound, the hello, right? And here's our first barrier. There's a locked door. And we literally had it as a locked door before. Like literally, right, Donna? Like the youth didn't come out of their room for a very, very, very long time. And so I want to think about who could respond, put it in the chat box and maybe how they respond, or come off unmute. Anybody willing to share? Use any role. It's kind of like we're playing Pokemon here. Choose your power strength based on and respond. You've got a locked door. Literally, the kid is not letting no one in. What are you going to do? The chat box is lighting up. I'm watching for a raised hand. It's too many people. Nobody's going to talk in here. That's fine. We'll do this chat box. Yep. Have meetings at the locked door. Who would facilitate those? A flexible facilitator that would be okay with maybe sitting on the floor and coordinating a team that would also be able to do that. Right? What might the youth partner do? What might the family partner do? Another barrier you might run into. Scattered clues. The story is just not complete. How can you contribute as a parent partner, a family partner, a clinical supervisor, behavior specialist? Maybe the CANS was only written by kind of in one little area by one person and they didn't, right? The child adolescent strengths and needs tool. Maybe the school is not so connected to probation. How do we support these scattered clues from our different roles on one wraparound team? Looking at the chat box.
Are you able to hear me?
Come on in, Ilad. I'm so glad to hear your voice.
Hi. I would say as I work with foster youth, so sometimes we will, if there's a kid that wants to be in the room and they don't want to communicate, we will sometimes use their peers to get them to communicate or just give them some space and check in with them.
That's so you have a relationship with not just the youth, the family, and you're able to use that. That's perfect. Scattered clues, they're going to pop up. We're all responsible. Thank you for sharing. What about trust building? Thinking about that one. That's another barrier to engagement, right? Everyone, maybe the youth partner is going to be the only person to get in. Maybe it's the clinician. Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's the coach. Maybe it's the community that is responsible for this part. I'm loving to see all the responses in the chat box.
What about notes
Yeah.
under the door?
What about notes under the door? Yeah, what about stop knocking on the door and get on a video game and play that's all he's doing in there anyways. We're playing Words with Friends. Who could do that? Well, I don't know. Let's look at the team. Maybe the youth partner, maybe the behavior specialist, maybe it's more behavior oriented. We're using people's strengths, applying them to strategies, as opposed to just you get a job, you get a job, you get a job. What about an incomplete plan? We're writing a plan and planning, and the parent partner wasn't at the meeting, neither was the parent. What do? Have a conversation, call a meeting, write your own agenda, bring your own chair to the table, bring your own table if you want. Incomplete plan, maybe the clinician's withholding some information that they could share that's not in the, the very clinical protected place that is like, he could use some support today. I just want to let everyone know. Because without those diverse team perspectives, we're in trouble. Right? If I don't know, we're not working together because you know stuff I don't know. I know stuff you don't know. They know stuff, and we are together meeting that, and the community knows the most. And it's all of our jobs to help synthesize viewpoints, which means come with what you can contribute. Like, I'm the probation officer and I can only do this, or I'm the clinical supervisor. I'd love to help you guys, but I can only help in this way. I'm helping bring it in. Thinking about implementation real quick, there are interconnected paths for all of us, meaning sometimes we partner up. Sometimes we might, support each other in different ways, especially when it comes to dealing with things like obstacles. Maybe the clinical supervisor can add something to the clinical treatment plan that allows you to go and play focus on physical crisis de-escalation. I was going to say play basketball, right? Maybe there's obstacles, so working together to overcome those. Maybe you're not confident in explaining wraparound. Bring the coach or call him before. So we're all here to help problem solve to help the family achieve their mission and their vision. Thinking about transition in each one of the roles, each one of us brings multiple exits, right? Meaning that you bring, like, maybe you might stick on longer, maybe you might see some resources or supports. We're all responsible for readiness indicators, meaning the clinical supervisor should see some progress and tell the team, I think we're about time for transition, or, we're not focusing on these transition goals. The wraparound facilitator can take an inventory of the team and ensure that we are developing enough team members to make sure that the boat floats when we walk away. The youth partner makes sure that the readiness indicator, ensuring the youth's voices at every meeting, the youth is at every meeting, never without them. Same with the parent. And thinking about the cans, right? We should all be contributing to the communication of the families and youth needs and strengths together. And if we're missing one piece, and I remember years ago saying this, the clinical supervisor did the assessment, then went away till they came back in 90 days. And the team was writing their own unique plan. It's like, why aren't you working together? The idea here is one integrated plan, one integrated use of strengths, resources, needs, and with community. So I'm beginning to kind of wrap up, and we're going to open for questions here in a few moments. I want to point out that there are some real world parallels, meaning, like, have you ever gone to the car shop? There's usually a person who works on the tires. There's another person who does brakes. There's another person who does interior. There's another person who does the radio. And we all work together on that same component, right? That's an example of how we're kind of coming together with our unique strengths. Another example I like to think of is like your toolbox, right? And John Vandenberg said years ago, wraparound is not actually the tool, but it's the toolbox, or he called it the tool belt, right? Wraparound is the process of those teaming members specified, including the wraparound role specific according to standard, that meet those unique needs together as a team. So, like, everybody in construction site, hammer, nails, tape, nail gun. I don't know. I used to just wear my pappies when I was a kid. Anyway, are you following me here? We all play a role coming in. I hope you've had a few key moments throughout this training that have identified some what's in it for me. Like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Or, oh, there's a tool, or, oh, there's an assessment I can begin with my role. I also hope that everyone was able to connect to what we mean by fidelity. What we mean is that you can't do this alone. You can't have a wraparound shop that people come to and then they leave. It's done with a unique group of individuals in community and professional systems that support the family. And I hope that you know what your responsibilities are, at least as a fundamental level, for being a part of a wraparound team and your unique function and role. And I'll reminder last time before I open up for questions, you can start dropping those in the chat box or snide remarks or all the fun stuff. That you could be a person that works in wraparound that maybe has a couple roles or functions as we describe them. But just because you want to be a family partner, parent partner, does not mean that you are an impacted individual. Just because you may have got a certification of some kind does not mean that you have the impacted lived experience. However, maybe an impacted lived experience person could get the clinical skills to be the clinical supervisor someday. And so they might meet both. So we want to be clear that as you implement these, that your counties and your programs and agencies meet all the boxes in a way that makes sense locally and fidelity to the program. And so I think that that's the last of my review. I want to point out while we're gearing up for questions in the chat box, we've got a ton of support through UC Davis and CDSS, UC, I said two, anyway. You can get technical coaching, request coaching for practice, for roles. You can email CDSS for questions to the inbox. And we have a steering committee and a whole bunch of group of people to support that. So I'm going to stop for a second and we're going to open up for some reflections, comments, questions. Come on in.
Romana, please come on in.
Yes. At first I wanted to make a comment. If you can please drop the slides. I don't know why the chat keeps erasing. And if you can do the slides, and I had to switch devices. And second of all, I've been doing this for 15 years, and I had never known there were so many roles in the RAP team. Usually it's just 4. And the clinical supervisors will constantly consult with us. Once in a while, they will join the meeting, but I always make sure that the family feels comfortable before these people come in. But I mean, when you started coming out with all these roles, I was like, okay, I've never heard of them before. So I was just kind of wondering, like, do you really need all those roles? Because I mean, just to have teams that size, it's really hard. So that was my question and comment at the same time.
Thank you. Thank you. I was just letting it percolate. I was curious if anybody else wanted to contribute to that question before we kind of respond.
Jay, and there's a follow-up question to that as well. It's come up a couple times in the chat. One of the questions was for high fidelity wraparound California, are these expected to be separate or independent roles? And there was a comment that not all wraparound teams have these roles. So it's all kind of encompassed in the same.
Yeah. So I think it's important to understand that, like, operationally, like, there are agencies doing wraparound with staff, and then there's what we call like the wraparound implementation as a community or a county, right? And how when you're implementing, you may have, like, let's say you're a county run. I'll go with county run wraparound, right? Meaning that we don't contract out to a CBO. You may have a wraparound facilitator, but you may have access to a behavioral health support that can be working in that way, right? You may have a clinician on your team that is a part of the, supportive team that now is working in that fashion on your team. Some communities will maximize the use of dollars, right? Because they have these existing roles in their community and they're using them, right? So it's really important how you kind of build this. But what we recognize is that you can't, for example, you cannot just have a wraparound facilitator and do high fidelity wraparound. You could do wraparound. You can do high fidelity wraparound because family, youth, voice, and choice requires specialized, trained family and youth impacted individuals. And so I think it's really important to know, and knowing other communities that don't uphold that principle, it really becomes business as usual, old school outpatient case management, intensive mental health services, as opposed to really building that community and building the wraparound, right? Informal wraparound beyond us. I understand where people get worried about like hiring. That sounds like a lot of FTEs, but to be clear, we're talking about functions within your wraparound implementation and how you build and use those, but you have to have them readily available to support. I see Veronica. Come on in, Veronica. Hey, friend.
Sorry, trying to lower my hand and unmute and trying to do a multitask. Thanks so much for selecting me to ask this question, Jared. So here in Orange County, we have been doing wraparound, high fidelity wraparound for many years, many years, over 20 years. And some of my staff are texting me as we're watching this, right? And so they're saying, we don't have all of these roles. We have many of the roles. We have a youth partner, parent partner, care coordinator, supervisor, clinician, and we team very well with our behavioral health here. So they're all asking, saying, oh, you know, do we need this? I think that one of the roles was facilitator is one of the ones that came up. So I guess the question is just for clarification for those that already have high fidelity wraparound, have been doing it for some time. The function, the concern that we should be concerned with is making sure that the roles are covered. So some of it might overlap. They might be covered by two, as long as the functions and the roles are being covered, the functions of those roles. If we don't have something called specifically a facilitator, but those functions are being covered by a body of full-time staff, then we are covered, right?
That is my understanding, correct.
Okay, just wanting to clarify because I'm getting texts from my folks who are present today.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And done with integrity to the functions, meaning that, like, you know, I'm not a clinician. I can't go do clinical work, but I sure could meet the youth partner, the behavior specialist, the facilitator, and quasi family partner, right? But now we don't want to overwhelm that staff too. So you got to think about staffing ratios related to this. Like if I'm working multiple functions, and that doesn't mean I have 3 family loads, right? I still have 1 family load that I serve, and I might serve on this team as a youth partner. On this team, I'm the clinician and the youth partner, right? So yes, Veronica, and that's a really great question. You can't, but to be clear, you can't do it without those functions. And that's what we're upholding to standard. Thank you.
Jay, I see Sabrina's hand up, and Sabrina will call you in a moment. If we have the time, you may want to walk through the website again, highlight the standards starting in 9, workforce development and human resource management. Those speak specifically to the roles and functions. So we could walk through that. They are draft version on our website for all of you to go back and read. But before that, Sabrina, please come on in.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there is any sort of a crosswalk between CalAIM billing through like ECM and CHWs and the roles that are required for wraparound.
A really great question.
Great.
You
call out,
earned your
Sabrina.
gold token today.
Yes.
And that earns the gold token for today.
Yes.
Yes, that is something would be great to have.
And currently there is work going on looking at the different programs and seeing how they connect, but we're still kind of in the infancy stages, and it will be incorporated into what California does.
Yeah.
And how we work together.
Yeah.
DHCS has started to join our wraparound steering committee meetings to begin and build that partnership in correlation to exactly what you're speaking to, Sabrina. What are those roles? How are they billing? How can we support the youth and families? So we are having those conversations. But to answer your question specifically, more to come.
Yeah, and I'll also, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know for us, we got CYBHI 3, which is specific to wraparound services, and our sustainability plan is Medi-Cal. So we're under a tight time frame to try to implement and turn around for billing. So I'm looking for any help that I can get.
Yeah. I'd highly click that coaching link. Submit it's not hard. It's a quick, real reference, and we'll reach out to you. I also would say that, like, the idea with the California Wraparound standards, and I'm, trying, and committee members tell me if I'm wrong here, but the idea is that we're thinking about wraparound as a big level implementation, not just like these littles, right? So meaning that like you're using the whole system of care, you're working together as a big system. So there will be, just like with like thinking about maybe cross-rocking, as we just talked about, will also like public health. There's public health services out there, right? And there may be a team member that you can utilize in the right way. The idea is we're not trying to waste dollars and like just create new roles, but we're rather trying to say like, hey guys, look at the ecology of what you got in your system. And like make sure that when you're doing wraparound with the family, which is like a high level of intervention, that you're ensuring these functions are regularly operated and working together. So, and this doesn't mean that the clinician comes to every single team meeting, to be clear, right? We're actually kind of relieving them from that, moving them to where they can act in service to the team and to the family according to the clinical needs and treatment. Same thing with the youth and family partner here, right? If maybe it's behavior related right now, the youth partner can be advocating, doing the real good, that stuff, and we're getting the clinical person over here to work on that. So I want to be clear that it's designed for like whoever's thinking about implementation, not just for programs to be thinking about it, but we're thinking about, well, are we really using everyone in the sandbox in an effective manner? Donna, are there any others in the chat box?
Brenda has her hand up. And then I've got 2 in the chat. So Brenda, come on in.
Perfect. And I'll pull
I
up
was
the
just
stand.
gonna make a little statement. So I'm a family partner for Stanford Sierra, but I get to work 2 counties, Sacramento and Yolo, because I speak Spanish. And the difference is rap. The rap in Sacramento, I have staff have all those lists that you listed. We have them. Yolo, nah. So like my family partner, I feel like I'm lazy when I go to Sacramento because there's more staff, like, so when I'm in YOLO, I'm like the housing, the navigator, I'm everything that Sacramento doesn't have, if that makes sense. But I also noticed that it makes me more involved in the community because now the youth advocate is from Yolo County, and then like different partners from the community come in because we don't have those different titles. So in Yolo, I'm more connected with the county than I am in Sacramento.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah. Well, and what you'll start to see as we kind of and really kind of realign California wraparound to these standards is like there's kind of lots of ways we could do it, right? And people can really kind of use their strengths in a way on the team as long as we're evaluating and ensuring that we have them and using them the right way. Now, I love that you talked about being in the community. Let's remember, as we're talking about all the things that we're responsible for doing, we are not the healers. Your job is not to create the dependency. Your job is to create the people that are going to do the thing, stabilize the crisis, get them back in the game. Not long term. And this is another thing we're thinking about here. So it's like we triage this right with the right people in the beginning, bang, we hopefully get a community-based plan too, boom, we're moving on. So, and as people come together, I want to talk about one of the things that comes up. I had my own question. Yeah, well, what if the different roles keep changing lanes and running each other over? Right? So what if, like, thinking about these roles coming together, does somebody have more power than another? I'm trying to stir the pot. Go ahead.
This is me as a parent partner. We constantly have to advocate for our role. And in my opinion, sometimes we are not seen as a professional because we don't have, some of us don't have the title, some of us do have titles behind our name, but we're constantly dismissed. And sometimes they start running into trying to take what our role is about. And we have to constantly remind them. So for me, it is a constant advocacy for my role and my role with the family. And so I constantly have to remind them. And unfortunately, with clinicians, as soon as they get licensed, they move on. It's a constant battle doing it with new members every single time. And that's just my perspective as a parent partner. We do get kind of sometimes steam rolled over, and so constantly having to advocate.
I really appreciate you saying that, and that is something that like we are hoping to continue to support everyone on that. And I think about the future and talking about wraparound. Some you might have in the near future, we might have like parent partner consultants that work as independent in your community, right? And so maybe when we're thinking about this, maybe you can't have them that work at this agency because maybe they don't have, but we're saying that you might be able to find a way to see that or support that through philanthropy or through local funding or Medi-Cal, right? To create maybe their own parent partner consultant. And now they don't have to do as much of that. But see, we're building this right now, right? Because for the longest time, parent partners, youth partners weren't at the table and didn't exist, right? And then now we're here. Now we're a part of the process now, and now it's also trying to find ways to partner, and also power cards come to play, right? And I appreciate you for saying that and being brave, and I'll also say that like we're on the same level in wraparound, and that's a part of the facilitator, the clinical supervisor, the parent part, everyone's job to ensure that that power differential changes. We're now on sacred land. It's the family's land. And so it's really important that we learn to team and partner together. Everyone's responsible for that. And I'm so sorry that's your experience. And I also want to offer, reach out to myself or Donna, because we're there to support also.
Thank you, Jay. I also wanted to say I invite all of my peer partners, both youth and parent that are with us today, to our next peer partner hub. It is April 24th from 9 to 3. It is a full day event where we have connection, information coming down from the state. We hear things just like what you are experiencing now, Romana, around how to uplift our role within counties and community-based organizations. And at this peer hub, we are going to have some education around ACEs, so adverse childhood experience scores, and how they affect children's behaviors and caregivers' parenting styles. So I please invite you to come. The link is here in the chat, and register, please, please, please. If you have peer partners, youth or parent partners in your county or organization, please provide them this link. This is a way for our role to connect, know what's going on in our counties and our organizations, and for the Parent Partner Advisory Committee to know what's going on and how we can continue to uplift and provide power and voice for our peer community specifically.
Just a comment. If these hubs can be a little shorter, because since the Cal AIM came in, productivity in building, that's everybody's focusing on that. And I would love to participate there, but I don't have all day to do it. And they're not going to give me permission to do it all day. So it's just a suggestion of in the future,
So
breaking it down.
no, I totally understand, Romana. Absolutely. We have 4 a year, 2 are 9 to 12, and then we have 2 that are 9 to 3. This one does have the education in the afternoon. I will also be happy to provide a letter of advocacy from the Parent Partner Advisory Committee to your supervisor or director at your organization to advocate for you to be able to have time during your work time to join and participate in these hubs. I will leave my email in the chat.
Yeah, and I'll just shout out there's a large peer community that's here that would love to support you too. In a lot of different ways, formally and informally. So thank you for sharing that. Jay, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add 2 things that might be helpful, but a successful family is a change agent of the future. And so to look at them as either stakeholders or natural supports or capacity built in communities is really important. And then the other aspect is I started out with a group of facilitators, and they decided what roles needed to be done on certain cases and backed each other up for a long time. And we just now built out our division to have much more roles, like as far as what we hired specified out. But I mean, you can make a lot happen with whatever role, as long as, like Jared's saying, those functions are being met, whatever job title, as long as the roles are being met. So I just wanted to add that in, like you can make a lot with a little while you're building at the same time.
Yep. And you can have them in-house, or you can work together like in partnered, right? Like with those MOUs and those integrated practice statements. We know that we can all do this together from our own unique lenses. Now the practice and how we do it, right there, we talked about a lot of the barriers that run into trust, cohesion, engagement, and we're going to run into all those. So any other questions, Diane? Are we looking in the chat? I want to make sure I'm not missing any.
There was a question around wraparound being an evidence-based practice. Kim slid in and let us know that it is in the clearinghouse to be approved as an evidence-based practice, but not just yet, or hopefully in the works.
Yeah. I'm looking through here to see if there's any others, and I'll give a minute for folks to think if they have any specific questions.
I
Realizing
would
I'm
love to do a
faster on that.
walkthrough, Jay,
Yeah.
of our wraparound and the standards where
Yep.
again, where the community can find the draft version of the California wraparound standards. And in standards starting number 9 is workforce development, and that's where it starts to speak to the wraparound roles specifically. There were a lot of questions in regards to, you know, is it an obligation to have all of these roles individual? Can one person, you know, be the same role for the same family? And California Department of Social Services realizes that and wants all of these standards to not only be achievable, but also realistic for every single county and organization across the state of California. So we know that there are large counties, small counties, large organizations, and small organizations. And through those standards, there is, for lack of a better term, wiggle room for each organization and county to fulfill all of those roles. However, I would not be a parent partner and a family specialist for the same family, because then that would be at a conflict of interest for the youth and the parent in that family that I'm servicing and working alongside. So it's just, you know, your county and organization would have to go back and talk about those specific dynamics when you're looking at each individualized family.
So I'm pulling it up here, zooming in, hopefully where folks can see it. And we're on workforce development, right? Which one you said 9-1, Donnie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So wraparound programs tend to staff according to meet the racial diversity and equity needs of youth and families. Staffing reflects the
Oh,
cultural.
I don't know if you're sharing, Jay.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Am I sharing now, Dee?
Yes.
Okay. Thinking about they're all right here, right? This is really going to kind of spell it out from like the soft hiring practices, right, to the technical ones. So when we're hiring, you know, we're thinking about people that are flexible and creative, culturally responsive. And so just like you would want to have like a team that, you know, can meet the unique needs of your culture, of your community, well, you might hire a facilitator that is also a behavior specialist, or a facilitator who is also a clinical supervisor, or a facilitator who has also got impacted lived experience. So you could have, I mean, hypothetically, you could have 5 supervisors that do wraparound, but one of them meets the criteria of the family partner and next one meets the, right? So there's a lot of different ways of making that happen. But they're also responsible for being flexible and creative in the work environment, right? So we're thinking about there should be a high degree of collective responsibility for quality improvement, meaning we're all aware of the metrics. We're all responsible for moving it forward. Team members also have to, you know, be flexible, creative, right? And that includes things like, you know, maybe operating not necessarily out of your ethics, but like as a team member today and, you know, being a part of the celebration. Here's the list of the different role functions, right? And you'll see how we describe it really clearly. We go into talking about stability, training, And highlighting again that the community can't be done alone. And I hope you're hearing me say that 2,000 million times. The RAP staff's important, but without all them, it's pointless. Defines the community supervisor fitting into here. And so here's some content. I'll also go back to the standards and show you over here that when you go to staffing wraparound, and we're hopefully going to give you some time to kind of review because there's a ton of resource dump in your for you guys here. So for example, let's look at the facilitator. Opening it up here. And I want to show you.
It will probably open as a PDF on your, there you go. Yep.
It defines the functions of the facilitator role. It defines all functions, and this is not all, but not exhaustive list, but this is the minimum of what we expect according to California Wraparound Standard. So if you were wondering, where do I start? Here you go. And notice we highlight very important, the skills, competencies, and attributes. And they typically may hold some education, but we were clear to say it's not required. Facilitator is really a set of skills, really a set of unique characteristics and experiences. Now they might. So I'm not going to go through them all there, but just kind of orienting everyone once again, because we've given you a lot of information. I'll show you one more role. Let's go with the kind of one of the new kids on the block, which is the wraparound fidelity coach. I'm opening it now. So here we describe the role, what it is. Remember, it can be done by maybe a supervisor and care coordinator. It might be a multiple role. Defines the functions. These are the things they regularly do for teams and in our system implementation. Some minimum requirements. You can't be a wraparound coach unless you've done wraparound before. If you can't, I'll say it again. I'm sorry. You got to have done wraparound before to be a wrap coach. I'd say at least 6 months, and that's minimum. Here's the skills and competencies. And if not, just start with a family. So let's say you are a new coach and you've never done then you start with a family and under direct supervision. So we're hopeful that these tools are helping everyone navigate themselves and find their way into working in this wraparound process. I highlighted the staffing roles. We've gone over the standards. I want to highlight the standards are easy to find, but I will highlight lastly, and we'll go back over the presentation, that there are many supports for wraparound in the state where you can get help, including UC Davis, the California Wraparound Advisory Committee, and you can find all these things on UC Davis's website. I think we're going to reflect for any more questions or comments. And if that's not it, we're going to begin to close down shop,
Yeah.
Donna.
We'll trickle down. I do want to go over a few things. This webinar is being recorded. So it is recorded. It will be posted on our website along with every resource that was dropped in the chat today. It will have a PDF version along with the recording for you to access and drop. That resource document, if you were able to grab that at any time, and I can drop it here in a moment as well, has all of the links that either myself, Jay, or Janine has spoke to today, plus a plethora of added courses, curriculum, webinars, other departments, technical assistance and coaching. That's another thing I would love to highlight is we do provide technical assistance and coaching in the Resource Center, along with our friends over at CDSS and the Family Center Practice Unit. So if you would like to lean in and get any TA or coaching around wraparound roles or any other of the listed areas within our TA and coaching, we ask counties, providers, any of you who would like to lean in, please access that link and I will drop it again as well. Unfortunately, we are unable to individually email all of the resources and links that went out today. everything that was spoken to today is on our website in some capacity in our Wraparound Standards Toolkit. And they will be available when the website is up and the recording is offered. So I think that's about it on my end.
I
Yes,
wanted
Jenny.
to mention that the toolkit is a living document. So there will be new things added and things change to keep up with what's going on. So just wanted to put that out there.
You know,
Absolutely.
Before we run them away, Donna, can we get them to shout out either in the chat box or, how was today for you? Give me a thumbs up. Maybe drop what you're taking away, what that one, golden nugget was. We'd love to see in the chat box what your takeaways are. We've also got some of those links and things, right, Donna?
Yes, I'm going to be dropping them now. Also, James is going to be dropping our evaluation link. Please fill out that evaluation poll. We absolutely do review and go through all of those evaluations to better inform you as our community, and also how can we improve giving our information to you as far as what are you wanting, what do you want to receive, who can we bring in, what did you appreciate, what are some upgrades. So please fill out that evaluation. And Jay, some of the things that are coming in the chat right now is understanding the roles was huge. Great to hear and connect with the Wraparound community always. And I love, thank you to my peer community here in the house. Analogies and examples were helpful and refreshing. I'm taking everything away. If you do have any upgrades that you have suggestions for us, you can either please put it here in the chat or offer it in the evaluation. We are growth mindset over here at the Resource Center for Family Focused Practice, and we don't look at upgrades or suggestions as a deficit. So please feel free. With that, I will provide one more time all the links that I dropped here at the end. Once you're done filling out that evaluation, thank you again for joining us here on a Friday afternoon from 1 to 3 o'clock. We know it is very difficult to come here at the end of your week on a Friday after lunch. And this just speaks to your commitment and charge for youth and families across the state of California who are system involved. This is why I love my Wraparound community. We just want better for our youth and families that came after us. So with that, I am honored to share this space with you. Jay Vermillion, you are incomparable. Jay's 20 years of experience, not only personally, but professionally, he brings that to every single presentation that he brings. And look out for his new book coming soon. And we will be promoting that as well. So with that, have an amazing day. We will see you here in some kind of capacity in the sandbox, as I call it. And I just want to say thank you again for joining us. And we will have all of this available for you soon. We will have a companion email that comes out to remind you. With that, have an amazing weekend, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. And don't forget to fill out the poll.